For both the Maryland and Dutch companies and organizations participating today, I would like to touch on some of the resources we have available to support your efforts at the Maryland Department of Commerce. For our exporters, we have a grant program and 16 foreign offices around the world to support you. We can also help connect you with resources at other agencies and at the federal level as you grow and require identifying partners overseas, marketing your company abroad, and identifying financing to support your growth to new markets. For companies who may be looking to expand into Maryland to work with us as we address the challenges together, I think you will find Maryland a welcoming and convenient place to do business. We can assist you by connecting you to potential partners, identifying site locations, explain incentive programs available to your businesses, and provide market research. My staff and myself are available to walk you through whatever you may need to be comfortable as you explore opportunities in our great state of Maryland. We look forward to Maryland and Dutch companies to work together, not only in Maryland and the Netherlands, but globally as well. I look forward to today's event to kick off this partnership, and collectively, we look forward to supporting this important work in the years to come. So thank you very much for participating, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Assistant Secretary Pringle, and really wonderful words of collaboration. I thank you very much. And now I would like to give the floor to His Excellency André Haspels, Ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Ambassador Haspels, welcome.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. Let me welcome you all on behalf of the Dutch government to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. More than 170 participants. That's a great result. It has been, of course, an historic week for the United States, and perhaps even more so for the climate. Given that President Biden, one of his first actions was to rejoin the Paris Agreement. And we welcome that very much. It's good news because halting climate change matters, really matters, and we can best do that together as partners. So ideally, of course, we would have been having this seminar in person, and I would love to come to Maryland one day and meet with Ms. Pringle and the Department of Commerce. But because of the pandemic, we have to do it as we've often done already, digitally. And that has the great advantage that we can meet each other on the screen, but that we also can have participants both from the United States, from Maryland, from Washington here, and of course from the Netherlands. So that's great news. Talking about the Netherlands, we just finished our Climate Adaptation Summit, the CAS. One of the participants was the Special Climate Envoy of the United States, John Kerry. We're very fortunate to have him as one of the speakers. As it has just been finished, I cannot give you a final update, but the fact that we had the Climate Adaptation Summit is very important, and that parties recognize the importance of climate adaptation. And I would also like to thank Lieske Streefkerk, who is our head of our infrastructure and water management unit here at the embassy, to thank her for all the work that she's done to make that possible. So once again, welcome. The webinar that we are having today is important because it strengthens the relationship, the cooperation between Maryland and the Netherlands. We both face, I would say, more or less similar risks, whether it's droughts, seasonal droughts, whether it's heavy flooding, rainfalls, thunderstorms, especially in our coastal areas, of course. Chesapeake Bay has already been mentioned, and because of sea level rise. And these common challenges can only be faced by working together. We can look for opportunities to see where we can tackle climate change and work on climate resilience. It's not the first time that we have a seminar like this. Netherlands and Maryland experts have joined in earlier times as well. For instance, in 2019, Rotterdam, the sister city of Baltimore, and I also read that in the logo here on the screen, led a delegation by Dutch researchers, with government officials, businesses going to Baltimore for a couple of days. And what they did was exchanging best practices, challenges when it comes to flood resilience and adapting their cities to climate change. And part of that program in 2019 took place on board of the Dutch clipper, the ship Stad Amsterdam. in Baltimore's inner harbor. It's great for Rotterdam that they have a ship called Stad Amsterdam. It shows the good relationship between the two cities. But my predecessor participated in that program, and I've been told that it was really useful to exchange knowledge on projects in the Chesapeake Bay, and that it's also very important to connect individual projects working on the same challenges in different areas in Maryland. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope today we can continue that on that initiative from 2019, that we share more examples, more opportunities to work together, and that we will further strengthen our cooperation between the Netherlands and Maryland. Rest assured that we will remain committed to tackling our common problems, and this seminar today is only one example of that. So thank you very much for joining, and I wish you a very good follow-up of this seminar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Haspels. And as you said, this is a great week for climate resilience, also with just the Climate Adaptation Summit wrapping up. And thank you for your continued commitment to this topic. Thank you very much for being here today with us. And now, also to get us a start on the topic at hand, building a climate resilient Maryland together, it is our honor to present Mr. Russell Strickland, Executive Director for the Maryland Emergency Management Agency. Mr. Strickland, the public is yours. Perhaps a small delay. Oh, we have, I think, a small delay or maybe some issues with the microphone. Perhaps we can give it another second while my colleagues help with the connection. Mr. Strickland, would it be possible to maybe disconnect the headset? Sometimes that helps a little bit.
Is that better?
I can hear someone. Mr. Strickland?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you good and clear. Thank you very much.
I feel comfortable too. First off, I do want to thank very, very much the Netherlands Water Partnership for bringing us all together, and thank the ambassador as well as our Assistant Secretary of Commerce to join us today and really push the message of building a climate resilient Maryland. We want to learn from as many people as we can and bring together these different ideas into a true community-based operation. You know, emergency management through the years has very much been focused on response. And we at the Maryland Emergency Management are trying to shift that paradigm and show very clearly that we, through mitigation, can build the kind of resilience we need so that if we do have events, we can recover quickly and at a much cheaper cost, a much lower cost. So it's partnerships like this where we get an opportunity to learn and share information back and forth is extremely essential, and we thank everyone for their efforts with that. This morning, I'd like to share really kind of three key messages with you, and that is the first, that we really look at mitigation today as true transformational mitigation, where we want to do large community-based projects that will allow us to have the greatest impact, not only for the environment, but also for our people who are living within those areas, and to be able to preserve and protect those areas such that they're there for the future and for our generations ahead of us. One of the things we comment about continually is that the efforts we are doing today are those efforts that will benefit our grandchildren's grandchildren. This is not an instant project. This is not an instant gratification. This will not solve an immediate problem like a light switch will, but instead it will build for the future so that ultimately we have a true resilient, not only state, but country, world, and ultimately maybe the universe. And that's truly where we're headed. And with that, we've got to share information back and forth across all jurisdictional lines, whether they be county, state, and or local. The other point we wanted to share with you too is that clearly we cannot respond our way out of these vulnerabilities. You know, we are a very rich area when it comes to response and what we can do when we have a disaster, but we can't respond our way out of it, and we need to push forward with resilience and good solid mitigation projects. And finally, a little tidbit that we say all the time, and we even have t-shirts made with it: mitigation is the center of the universe. We have got to begin to focus and continue that focus long-term on mitigation and how it is we can make life better. And we do that really through public-private partnerships. And you're going to hear more about that today in one of our breakout groups. That's one of our success stories. So with that, I would wish everyone a good conference today. I'm going to jump back and forth between the different rooms and try and pick up little tidbits, but we're so very, very proud and happy to be a part of this with so many very dedicated and interested folks in mitigation and resilience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Executive Director Strickland. And I think you mentioned some very, very good points. It's not only preparing it for immediate gratification or to expect results right away, although sometimes we will, but thinking about that long term, about that heritage that we leave grandchildren. So thank you for putting it into perspective. And I think not a better way to set the tone for the meeting. Now we will move to learn a little bit more about these plenary presentations that we have lined up, focusing on three very specific needs. The first one is small communities, because we see that we have a lot of folks gathered here from rural counties, from small municipalities that may be looking at how can I best help prepare my community for climate change with the resources that I have. We will also have, for those joining from Baltimore, from Annapolis, how can we tackle resilience in urban areas? What are those topics that are coming up? What are those lessons learned that we have gained over the years? And then we will move to talk about coastal adaptation. I am very happy today to present Saskia Pardans, the Senior Advisor on Infrastructure and Water Management at the Embassy of the Netherlands in the USA, who will tell us a little bit more about how, at the small municipality level, you can affect change in your community and adapt and prepare for a resilient future. Saskia, the floor is yours, and we're super interested to learn more about this initiative of the Embassy. And I think you will take a quick second for Saskia to come on the floor. And as always, we are in these Zoom environments, but sometimes the technology will still take a second. So Saskia, we do see you active.
Yes, I'm trying to share the screen, but that's not possible yet.
Oh, okay, I will stop my share. There we go. Excellent. Excellent. And we do welcome those that are just joining us. If you could please turn off your camera so that we can focus on Saskia's presentation. Thank you very much, Saskia.
Okay, everybody can see me right now?
We can see you.
Well, good morning, America, and good afternoon, everyone in the Netherlands. My name is Saskia Pardans, and I'm Senior Advisor on Infrastructure and Water Management at the Netherlands Embassy in DC. Water became a very important part in my life since I've been living in Houston. We've experienced Hurricane Harvey, some major floodings, and during Tropical Storm Imelda, I got flooded with my car. During my presentation, I'll tell you something about the Netherlands, the partnership with the United States, and I would like to introduce the manual for small communities, Adaptation for All, how to build flood resilience for communities of every size. At the end of the presentation, you'll get a question through Mentimeter. I want to start with some background information about the Netherlands. In the last 800 years, and that's a very long time, the Dutch have created innovative solutions to water-related problems that threaten communities, economic capital, and the quality of life. The Netherlands is a third bigger than the size of Maryland. We have 17 million residents, and without coastal flood protection, 16% of the Netherlands would be prone to flooding. Half of our GDP is earned at or below sea level. The Netherlands has learned to live with water and harness its power. The Dutch believe the work is never done. The Netherlands need to keep preparing to be safe from water problems, not just now, but also in the next century. Good water management and integrated planning is essential for the existence of our country. In the past 15 years, we've been sharing centuries worth of experience with our US partners in various ways. Since Hurricane Katrina, Dutch practitioners and leaders such as engineers, policy experts, and architects have been collaborating with their American counterparts to make the US communities more resilient. The collaboration played a role in the development of new coastal and riverine defense structures in New Orleans and the coastal master plan in Louisiana, where the large protection system has been established with levees and flood walls, gates and pumps, co-engineered by ACADIS in collaboration with the US Army Corps. It also led to the Rebuild by Design competition in the New York City area after Superstorm Sandy. And the collaboration led to resilience strategies in communities such as Norfolk and Charleston. While national news often highlights the projects and solutions underway in large cities like New York, Boston, or Miami, we know that the smaller communities have similar needs to build resilience to flooding and sea level rise. In fact, the only way this country will be truly resilient is if we can find, skill, and finance solutions that protect small, rural, and poor communities with the same attention we give to well-resourced cities. Much of the country's population lives in communities of 50,000 or less. And since we have had record-breaking hurricane seasons and spring floodings in the last years, communities of all sizes are in need of new tools and strategies to prepare for future floodings and sea level rise. That's why we partnered with the American Flood Coalition, the national nonprofit organization and coalition of flood-impacted communities in the United States, and ACADIS, the largest Dutch design and engineering firm active in the United States. And together we designed the manual, Adaptation for All, How to Build Flood Resilience for Communities of Every Size. The guide incorporates knowledge of flood challenges and innovations in American communities by the American Flood Coalition and ACADIS international design and engineering expertise. You can meet Edgar Westerhoff of ACADIS and Ann Baker of the American Flood Coalition during the breakout session. It's breakout session number 4. By combining the shared experience of American resilience experts into practical approaches for smaller communities, we hope to include more communities in the discussion about turning flood risks into opportunities to shape their future as places to call home. The guide helps answer the critical important question, where to start building resilience. A well-rounded list of often separated approaches has been pulled together to addressing flooding, also including stormwater management, green infrastructure, coastal infrastructure, local policy, and land use planning. We've designed this guide providing examples from communities both large and small, but also from the United States and the Netherlands. We have been breaking out approaches by cost and complexity so that local leaders can assess what's needed to implement these approaches. And there are learnings that any city can take from the examples outlined in this guide. And we hope that they serve as a jumping off point for local leaders looking to build a resilient future for their community. And there are key elements of the projects highlighted that may go beyond what's typically covered in national headlines, but which we hope can serve as useful takeaways and assist local leaders in scoping and implementing these projects. Costs, benefits, and implementation considerations are outlined for each approach, along with real-world case studies, so that readers can envision and evaluate which approaches may work best for their community. And using simple rather than technical language, the guide is designed as a resource that local leaders can use and share broadly during community-based planning processes. During the breakout session, we will give you a sneak preview of the manual and we would like to start a discussion about your specific situation. And you all should know you're the first to learn about this manual because the official launch will be in February. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to a fruitful discussion later on. And I'm also very curious what the answers will be to the question in Mentimeter. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Saskia. And I think I'm super curious to see, especially about these 25 real world case studies. And it's great to see that a lot of them are in the mid-Atlantic and really in the region of our participants today. So that's wonderful. If I could take back the screen share, I will move towards the Mentimeter. Perfect, so that we can see what are the reactions. And one thing that I think it's really wonderful about this project is that you really are using the simple language, not a lot of jargon. It's like really accessible for communities of all sizes. And for those that are just now getting into the menti.com, if you could please enter the code 4831237 or 4831237. The question is, what is the challenge most relevant to your work that this manual can help with? The options are adaptation efforts in a small scale community, so 50,000 or less population, finance for adaptation projects, or managing impact of extreme weather events like hurricanes, flash flooding, etc. So we do see that extreme weather events is really of the number one right now. So it's very good to see a little bit where the interest is. As Saskia mentioned, there will be a breakout session focused on this precise topic. So I imagine it will be very good for all of those folks that are really interested on the special needs of the small communities to please join Saskia there. For this next presentation, I am very happy to welcome Klaas-Jan Raad, that is joining here today from KVR Water Research Institute. He is an expert on water reuse, water resources management with urban applications. He's the co-lead for the National Knowledge Platform CoStar, Fresh at Hand, Saline at Bay. So this is also very relevant for folks in the Chesapeake Bay. And he's also a contributor to the Circular Economy Research Program for KVR. So Klaas-Jan is joining us today to talk a little bit more about solutions specialized for cities to build resilience. Klaas-Jan, the floor is yours. And I will stop sharing so that you can share your screen as well.
Yes, that will help.
Excellent.
And I can also not share my video. Perhaps you can do something about that. But I'll...
Okay, we can, while we are getting settled, can you try again? There we go.
I am. Yeah, good.
Perfect, perfect.
And then you'll see my screen.
Excellent. Almost there on the full screen.
Right.
Almost there. Excellent. Perfect.
Now we're all set. Yeah. But first of all, Janet and others, thanks very much for this opportunity to present a bit on building resilience in urban areas. I will not talk about CoStar and coastal water resources management, but if you happen to have questions about that, contact me later. As Janet mentioned, I'm at KWR Water Research Institute, which is an applied research institute in the Netherlands, doing applied research for drinking water, wastewater industries, agri and food, water authorities, both in the Netherlands as international. And we are in full ownership of the Dutch and Belgian drinking water companies. Now, before moving into urban resilience, I was asked to drop you 2 slides on some of the COVID work that we do. We have a very good team of microbiologists at KWR who do a lot of wastewater epidemiology. And we were among the first groups to be able to measure COVID RNA strains in wastewater and set that up to as early detection of COVID outbreaks. So here's a graph from the city of Amsterdam, where since March last year, we have been monitoring COVID strains in the wastewater as an early detection. And the great advantage of sewage, using sewage to detect COVID, is that normally the signal for an outbreak comes earlier than in sewage than that any case, any disease develops to real complaints. So we do that together with the National Health Institute across the Netherlands. We do that internationally. Also we do that with some US partnerships, among others, the University of Michigan, with whom together we have this large international dashboard of COVID in sewage systems. Just as a short introduction, but now we're here for building resilience in urban areas. And basically, in my field, water resources management, building resilience is a lot about preventing pluvial flooding and dealing with extreme heats and heat island effects in urban areas. And I will present two examples today, one from the city of Rotterdam and one from the city of Amsterdam. One first example dealing with making a whole circular water system within a city environment, and the other on blue-green roofs that can really cool your building. Moving to Rotterdam, some challenges there. Urban renewal. Now Rotterdam has got the motto these days to use urban renewal as a chance to take up climate adaptation measures. So really, the municipality says whenever we have a urban renewal plan, we want climate adaptation measures to be taken into account. And this is the football stadium of one of the three professional soccer clubs in the Netherlands, in the city of Rotterdam, where we wanted to build a whole circular water system. To irrigate the pitch, they use quite a lot of drinking water, which of course is a waste of your water resource, as we have a lot of rainwater falling as well on that pitch, but in other periods, other seasons of the year. So within that urban area, we had some goals. One, make an attractive, healthy urban environment, reduce pluvial flooding, harvest and reuse rainwater, and thereby reducing drinking water use for irrigation. But with reusing harvested rainwater, there's always the question, where are you going to store these large volumes of rainwater between the seasons? And I'm a hydrologist, and I come from, I'm a groundwater hydrologist actually, and I come from the world of managed aquifer recharge and aquifer storage and recovery. So I connect to the underground. Now, I always say the subsurface, so the underground, provides time and space to store large quantities of water. Now, common in drinking water, common in agriculture, not so much in urban area. And especially if you go to groundwater in the city of Rotterdam and surroundings, this whole surroundings are, I'll run that one again, are brackish aquifers, where you want to store fresh water that has to be fresh again upon recovery. Now, in the greenhouse areas, we've been developing these techniques, ASR, aquifer storage and recovery systems applicable in groundwater environments. And what we did in Rotterdam is really use that system, the aquifer storage and recovery system, as the key feature in this whole circular system for this football stadium. So what we've been developing and implementing there is we harvest all of the rainwater that falls upon the football pitch within the city. We have a very fast storage tank underneath a small football pitch that is used by the kids. We have a filtering system, making sure to remove fines and stuff. And then we have this aquifer storage and recovery system, which is really the backbone of making sure that helps us preserve that water for use later on. In the Netherlands, water falls in autumn and winter mainly, and of course we need to irrigate that field in spring and summer. Now, of course, this is all technology, and I have a technology background, but I guess the key to success in this project was really the integration within the whole urban renewal that was going on there, and really connecting the community to developing the system. So the community had a large saying in the whole planning, the whole urban design in this whole project. We had a grand opening with the whole community, and one of the smaller football pitches where we have this large, or the fast storage reservoirs underneath, is nowadays a football pitch for the kids up there. So key to success: make sure you connect to your community. Of course, your technology has to be proven, has to be resilient, but connecting to your community really is key. One of the strategies Rotterdam has, we are implementing these types of systems at other parts of Rotterdam as well. And really the strategy is that not a drop of rainwater should leave the city of Rotterdam unused. Okay, moving to Amsterdam and to blue-green infrastructures, blue-green roofs. Amsterdam has this strategy of really implementing a lot of these blue-green roofs to really deal with three problems. A way to store large volumes of water quickly to prevent pluvial flooding and thereby releasing pressures from the sewage systems. A way to cool buildings, to cool buildings, and well, really to make this whole city look more attractive. Now I'll only go into the cooling aspect because we have a lot of blue-green roofs installed, but really they don't cool at the time when they need to cool, that is in summer. And the reason there is that there's not any water available for the plants on the green roofs normally in summer to cool. A plant evaporates, that is the cooling effect. But if there's no water available in long dry periods, then really your blue-green roof doesn't cool. So we have some technology providers developing the permavoid system, which really is a system that makes sure that you get capillary rise to your substrate on which the plants grow. And that is really a difference from conventional blue-green roofs that do not have such a system. And really, there's no water there stored in summer that can really feed the plants. And the plants really die out or they don't evaporate, and you don't have this cooling effect. Now, the kind of trick in a lot of the projects that we do, and you see a range of partners in this project and also in the Rotterdam project, is that we combine the knowledge of an applied research institute as KWR, and we combine that with the expertise and the know-how of technology providers and others. And really my message for today is if you really want to develop and implement techniques, they should really be proven scientifically as well. So that is what we did here. We proved this system really works. Evaporation goes on in summer. And with such a really working blue-green roof that evaporates, you can reach up to 40 degrees Celsius difference between an ordinary roof in temperature. And that really, if you go to Amsterdam and the Amsterdam Rainproof project, this really is the vision for the urban environment. Use plants, use the green infrastructure to make the city resilient. And with that, just two examples from what we're doing in Amsterdam, but I hope to give you a bit of an idea of the way we work. I leave it to Janet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Glacian, and great to see also the team that works with you on these projects. Very, very good also to share these initiatives, especially the urban water buffer for me is very important because here, as maybe not a lot of people know, but we don't have AC during the summer. So those really hot months are really critical. We do have a lot of high density in the cities in the south of Holland. So in the summer, solutions like this that have like public spaces dedicated for cooling off, it's really, really important, especially if they're co-produced with the communities. Now, I would like to gather your reactions on the presentation by Klaas-Jan. And the question that Klaas-Jan is asking is, what are the most important drivers to incorporate climate adaptation measures in your urban planning? So for you folks that are actually implementing projects of the same type in the same settings, what are some challenges that you are seeing, and what are the most important drivers for you when you set up these programs? So I will let this go, but if you could all go into your menti.com, into your iPhones or mobile devices and enter the code 4831237, we start to see some idea or some responses like some people are planning to cope with flash storms. Other folks are really using the financial resources available to plan for projects. I see a lot of funding and grant programs and understanding the stormwater requirements. That's very, very important. And the data gaps, that's a very real constraint that sometimes we have in application. Thank you very much. And I will leave this running so that you can also provide your input as we transition to the next discussion. Now, I would like to welcome Mr. Edwin Velez from Deltares, USA. Edwin Velez is actually based out of Silver Springs, Maryland, and he is Executive Director at Deltares, USA. He's leading a team developing and implementing operational systems for government agencies, for power authorities and private companies. And amongst his diverse topic of expertise, he will share today with us a little bit more about the different solutions that Deltares is bringing to projects to help coastal communities prepare for climate change. Edwin, we welcome you today, and please, the public is yours.
Okay, thank you. And I think that's my microphone is working.
Excellent. We can hear you well, and now we can see you. Excellent.
Okay, and now I'm going to share screen. And I'm going to share this screen and then make this big, share, and do this.
Excellent. We begin to see your presentation. Perfect.
Victory?
Perfect.
Okay, great. As Janet said, my name is Edwin Wells, and I'm actually located in Silver Spring, so not far from many people who are on this call. And I work for an organization called Deltares, and this is a picture of one of the buildings of the campus in Delft, which is a great water center. Deltares is a research institute for the Netherlands. And Saskia showed us some nice, I have to move this. Saskia showed us some nice statistics about why water is such a concern in the Netherlands, and I like to use this photograph here to show why water is such a big concern in the Netherlands. It's important to keep the water out of certain places and in other places. So Deltares focuses on these topics, and one of the most important ones is sustainable delta planning and delta infrastructure. Of course, the Research Institute is made up of experts, and so we have 850 staff, most of them in Delft and in Utrecht, some in the United States, Indonesia, Chile, Singapore, a few spread around the world. One of the primary missions of Deltares is gathering and distributing knowledge, and so about water. And so lots of seminars, workshops, trainings, we organize a lot of those, as well as a lot of physical experiments, testing willows to see if they provide breakwater effects, testing mussels to see if they can help damp waves and clean water in the Rotterdam harbor. And of course, everyone needs a drone test to use drones for, this is an evaporation experiment. On the campus in Delft, there are 9 different hydraulic test facilities. And so they are lots of very fun experiments to go and watch when I visit. It's really a terrific spot. So lots of water activity there. Software, very important for the Deltares mission. Software is a terrific way to gather and then communicate knowledge. So software is, of course, a product that we can distribute, but it's really so much more for that than that for Deltares, where we incorporate our knowledge into pieces of software, and then we can distribute that to others, get feedback, incorporate new knowledge, and then redistribute that. So software is a big part of this notion of gathering and distributing knowledge. Lots of projects here in the States with lots of different kinds of organizations. So we have some interesting projects for with the city of New Orleans, looking at managing groundwater there to try and help enhance resilience. Department of Homeland Security, we have a fun project with Charleston, looking at ways to help them with their resilience planning. So, but lots of organizations, big and small. Okay, so that's Deltares. Here's this pretty building again on our campus. So first thing we need to think about in terms of designing resilient solutions for coasts, or actually for anywhere, is that it's a little bit complicated. And this is sometimes an obstacle. It seems a little bit overwhelming. And how are we going to get from this very complicated problem to a solution? And we can break down what the sources of complication, and that helps us design an approach. One is the science is complicated. So we need somehow to address and capture that complicated science in an organized way. And then people have a lot of expectations of resilience projects. It's not just providing protection, it's also providing fiscal benefits. We need to protect our ecology and the green space that we have. And of course, you can't just move the problem from one place to another. We need to make sure that everyone is being protected. And you know, lots of stakeholders, lots of expectations and needs. And we're doing all of this in an uncertain future. So we have not clear whether or not at what rate sea level will be rising, or how storms will be changing, or exactly what rainfall patterns might be modified from what we anticipate and expect, whether intensities are increasing there. And so we're trying to make a plan in but not sure exactly when or what exactly is going to happen. And so we need to think about ways to approach this. And for us, one of the most important things that we need in order to do this is you need some sort of objective way of evaluating the various circumstances which may occur. And so both a model of the physical environment, of the water quality, or the hydrodynamics, whatever characteristic you're interested in, whatever the environment is. You know, if you have concerns with your ports, maybe you need to set up a physical model. So you need some way of characterizing the physical or the environmental system, as well as then the impact of that environmental system on your community. You need to be able to model the damages that occur from certain events, and then translate those into costs, so that you can start to have an understanding of what pieces of infrastructure, the benefits that those can bring to you. So as you develop a model and you start looking at a model, it's really important that you bring the stakeholders in at that and have them participate in this model building, so that you end up with a collaborative model. Stakeholders have a tremendous amount of information and knowledge about their systems. So they have past experience that's really useful for you to validate your models. They have can identify specific links between infrastructure, so that you can identify how one element of infrastructure fails, a road gets blocked, and how that has a cascading impact. So in order to create a more accurate and effective model, you really need to get input from the stakeholders, and to gather that input and then incorporate it into your modeling system. It's also a really important activity because we want to use this model in communicating with stakeholders. And so if there is participation in the instantiation of the model and people can see that their information is incorporated into the models, then there it develops trust in the models, and people start to believe what the results of the models. And so you have a sort of double benefit by bringing in the stakeholders and creating this collaborative environment for model building. This is just a picture over here of one of our tools called Circle that we use to try and manage and organize people's stakeholder workshops, which is you get pretty pictures identifying links between infrastructure. So stakeholders are key because you're going to need to evaluate a broad range of measures. There are lots and lots of things that you can do, and you can change your building codes so that everyone has to build their house a story and a half above the ground. You can do clever things with masking necessary infrastructure underneath green infrastructure so that you get sort of dual purpose things. You can do a lot of building with nature, building out shellfish reefs or wetlands. And of course, in urban environments, especially as Klaas-Jan just showed us, there is a lot you can do to try and mitigate effects of flooding and to reduce the impacts of rainfall or coastal flooding. And at the same time, create attractive urban environments. And because flooding is complicated and because you have lots of different kinds of floods, you have nuisance flooding and you have high impact events, you're not going to end up probably selecting just one single solution, but a collection of solutions. And so you need to have some understanding and to develop some understanding of how those pieces of infrastructure or modifications to your community will work together and how they will combine to create a complete resilient solution. And then there's the economics. It's really essential that you be able to identify to yourselves, to your community, to your potential bondholders, to your federal funders, that the proposals that you have will in fact be a benefit to your community and be, that the cost benefit ratio is in the correct direction, that the benefit is greater than the cost. And so you need to have done some analysis of costs for building, expected results. And then there's the added complication of a changing baseline. And so sea level, if we think about sea level, it's the easiest one to think about. Sea level's rising, it starts creating nuisance flooding. And so you can do something to mitigate that. But sea level continues to rise and it creates other problems. And so at some point in time, there's going to be a need to then enhance that infrastructure that you're changing and building. So you need to think in terms of what should we do now? What are we going to need to do in the future? And at what points will we need to make those changes? And this leads to this notion of time-dependent planning and something we call adaptive pathways. And this is just one slide from a presentation we did for a project with Miami-Dade. And we looked at a number of different potential mitigations. And then for each mitigation, we identified at what point that mitigation stops being useful. And we just refer to that as a tipping point. The mitigation stops being useful at all of these different spots. And then we also conducted these analyses of looking at different scenarios, and then we can evaluate the cost and benefit, and we can see how effective they are. And once we have an understanding of how all of these pieces can potentially fit together, then we can map our way through this set of measures, identifying at what points it will be useful to implement those. And so we do this in terms of the event itself and as opposed to just in terms of time. And so we end up with this overall, this is our total picture here, where we have as the key collaborative modeling, and with the stakeholders participating in that development, and we have our scientists working away here, or consultants or academia developing the model in direct collaboration with our community. And then we can test over and over again infrastructure plus environmental events. These are infrastructure plus environment is a scenario. We can test those scenarios, identify adaptation tipping points, and then map our way through that set of potential mitigations. And of course, that's done perhaps several times in order, as we go through that, we learn something. So that's our general process, which can be applied in large and in small communities. And of course, there's a set of tools which people have which can support this process as we work through it. So I see Janet, and I assume that she's telling me that it's time to wrap up. So contact information for if you have questions and for future communications.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Edwin. And it's very, very good reflections also on the power of data, right? A lot of the counties, a lot of the municipalities do have a wealth of data, and this is a little bit like the next step, right? Like data is as powerful as it can when you can use it to develop some solutions. And I think it's great the fact that you guys also involve the stakeholders into this process and make it in a way that that is digestible for them. And as they know best their communities as well, that they can also provide some feedback to the experts, and you can really co-produce this. And great picture of the Delta flume.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more what the Delta flume is?
The Delta flume is one of the hydraulic structures in Delft, and it's the most recently built one. It's quite an amazing thing. It can create waves up to 15 feet. And one of the pictures I had there at the very beginning slide is, I've got a couple of pictures in there of it, but it's used for testing. Here, if I can go back one more, will it go back? Yes. Oh. A slow slide. This is actually in the Delta flume, testing whether or not these willows can withstand waves. How large a wave can these willows withstand in order to try and protect communities, and whether or not building out willows is a way of mitigating wave energy to reduce their impacts. And over here in the bottom left, this is a picture of a wave in the Delta flume. Anyway, it's a really it's great if you can see it operate. It's really a great structure. So.
Super powerful. Thank you so much for bringing that in. Yeah, that's really experts testing. You know, what is the impact of those waves on those on the vegetation. So great. Yeah. Thank you very much, Edwin. And actually, you can keep your camera on. I would like to invite Klaas Janraat and Saskia Parlans to do a quick roundup of the questions that we have received. I also, because we have received more questions that we can take during the Q&A, I did want to say that you do have the opportunity to book one-on-one chats during the one-on-one resilience experts chats. So please make sure that you participate, and that's another setting where you can really ask a lot more questions to these folks. So I would like to start with Saskia, but before that, I will share my screen just to make sure we have that situated. Excellent. So Saskia, we had received very good comments about your presentation, and one of the things that folks are curious about is, to what extent does a manual respond to inequality in communities? Like, for example, poor communities are often being more exposed to environmental impacts, natural disasters, floods, usually who is left behind to build in the less desirable areas of a small community are those that have less political voice, that have more vulnerability socially. So Saskia, is this integrated in the manual, or can you make some reflections on that?
Well, I don't see, can you see me?
We can see you very good.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm not going to dive too deep into the manual because, again, we have the breakout session and it's going to be published in February. So, but there are, as I mentioned in the presentation, more than 25 examples of small communities. So really it's based on small and rural and different kind of communities. So yeah, if you have specific questions, please come to the breakout session, because there we go into detail in some specific examples from the manual. And then you can find out, okay, does it fit my community or not? And again, as of February, then you can read the whole manual. So I have to be a little bit suspicious still, because it's not published yet, but there is, I can say, something for everybody, and especially for small communities.
Okay, no, excellent. And I think a lot of people will be going to those sessions. Also, good to see also that there's variety, 25 communities, it's a lot. So perhaps, you know, not a one size fits all, but I'm very curious also to learn a little bit more about that sample. So the next question is for Klaas-Jan Rat. The question comes on regards of those blue-green roof technologies. And the question is, has implementing blue-green roof technology run into resistance on historic landmark structures? The person says, in many local government zoning laws, such will not really allow with historic preservation requirements. And that's also a very good question because here our structures are quite old as well. How do you see implementation of that, Klaas-Jan?
Yeah, well, that is a good point, and I think the strategy that the city of Rotterdam has, it's a really good one. You know, these green roofs, they come in when you do urban renovation, and for well, in Amsterdam, in the really old historic buildings, you cannot apply these types of techniques. So you run into newer kind of buildings, say from the 1950s onwards, where we apply these blue-green roofs. The key is really to incorporate it in good urban design, I believe. So I hope that answers the question a bit. So good urban planning, but really making it fit within the urban design. And sometimes we do have to change our urban designs, even if they are old and historic. Yeah.
Okay, so have that flexibility, but KVR works closely then with the city of Rotterdam, for example, on these projects. So if there's a relationship with the city, then there can be a little bit more coordination. Is that what I'm hearing a little bit?
Well, we help them develop the technology and really test the technology as well to have it scientifically sound, proven, etc. That really is our part in these projects. But the city of Rotterdam, like I said, they really have this strategy. Any urban renewal projects, make sure that you incorporate climate change adaptation in there. But make it also applicable and beautiful for the environment. And perhaps one last point, blue-green infrastructure especially can be very beautiful as well. So that's one of the benefits for real estate developers. You know, if your neighbor develops a blue-green roof, you know, you get a pretty view on that blue-green roof. It really helps in some cases even to raise housing prices in the areas. So for a developer, that could be interesting.
Okay, no, we definitely see that impact also in, yeah, there's a lot of subsidy programs in the Netherlands that are covering that, I believe, as well. And Rotterdam has been quite successful, yeah, with the number of operative green roofs that they have. So I think if someone is here from Rotterdam, if they can chime in a little bit on the chat, I think it would be great to know a little bit more about that. And the next question is for Edwin. Edwin, one question that comes up is, how do you ensure or anticipate continuity in implementation with changing governments and stakeholders in the adaptive pathway scenario when you cooperate in projects with your
So of course, that's a great question because you can have a terrific plan and then your government can change and people can decide that it's not a good idea. I think if that happens, though, that probably indicates that you have not engaged the stakeholders in a way that is sufficiently strong so that it should be a, you know, if the stakeholders are engaged, then irrespective of how the community politicians change, they should retain the interest in that in that plan. Something else that we were just talking about with the folks at Charleston that they pointed out is that you know, in a similar vein, is that there may be opportunities that come up that will drive the adaptation planning that you have. So for example, right now, after a big event, there's always money that becomes available for people to do resilience planning. And so you may say, well, first we're going to do this very small thing, and then we're going to work on getting this big thing. But if the opportunity to get funding occurs at a particular time, then you may need to just jump on that, as it were, and say, go forwards with that. So, of course, you know, as we know and as we've seen, politics is can be quite mercurial, and so you could get a change and cause disruption. But you know, by having the stakeholders engaged at the beginning and then continuously engaged, then you can try and mitigate some of the potential impact of the changes in politicians.
So engaging the stakeholders ensures a little bit more continuity because they are the ones that keep everyone accountable.
Yes.
That's what I'm reading a little
bit. Yeah. Thank you for, thank you, Janet. That's very well said.
Excellent, excellent. So now I just have a question for actually the three of you. If now that we are, chatting with floodplain professionals, with urban planners, we have also integrated water resource management experts, and also a lot of people from counties, from government administration. Along your career, what have been some of the most transformational projects that you have seen? This is a question for all of three, and why? But if you could say it in 30 seconds or 1 minute. I will start with Edwin since you have your mic off.
For transformational project, I think that we're working right now with the city of New Orleans, and they're really reimagining the way they manage water. And so this is being led by a colleague of mine named Rulof Sturman, and he and another a landscape or an architect in New Orleans have been working together for a decade now to try and explain that rather than always seeing water as a negative, and that the first thing that you want to do when you see water in the city is pump it out, rather than seeing water in that light, you need to see it as a positive, and you need to manage it within the city so that it becomes a more Dutch approach where the water is a part of the community. And this has been, I think, a really interesting and transformational project, because it's not just about the technology and about how you manage water and how you try and use water to reduce subsidence and resolve a number of other issues in the city, but it's also addressing a fundamental concept about the way water is perceived within the community.
Excellent. So there's a cooperation in New Orleans that is actually now reaching 15 years old. So very good.
Yeah.
Klaas-Jan, I'm also curious about your project in mind in 1 minute or less.
Yeah, I'll try. I'll go into the key to get a successful project, and for me that is really commitment, and that's on a personal level of people involved at both partnerships. So the key for success in Rotterdam was really to have Bert den Dolder, who works for the community of Rotterdam, who really spent, all this time on this project, really pushing this project even when it got harder. And that is similar to a lot of transformative projects that I've done in other fields as well. You need a counterpart that is really dedicated, as well as, of course, dedication of all the partners, but somebody who really has the drive to go and get this project and this change done, row against the stream. That is someone you need. That really is a key to success.
Very so commitment, having that one driver that it's really committed long term to the program. And I think this a little bit echoes what we heard during the opening. Not overnight, transformational change comes in a long term. Thank you very much, Klaas-Jan. And Saskia, do you have a favorite project? Also seeing also from the experience in Houston in the Netherlands, what do you see?
Oh, I will talk on behalf of the Netherlands Embassy. New Orleans already was mentioned by Edwin, so I won't dive into that. But I think also New York with the rebuilding by design, I think is a very interesting project because it's a different way of thinking, and it's also incorporating communities with each other, with the Dutch. So they learn about the Dutch way of thinking and build and rebuild new things. So I think that's a very interesting project. But again, I wasn't there in the time, but we're very proud of it. So let's keep it like that. And I hope there will be many more projects in the future, also with the manual and the small communities, because we're always talking about the big communities.
Exactly. No, and I think that's a very good competition that a lot of us got a lot of lessons from that, and that New Jersey, New York cooperation with the Dutch. So very, very good. Well, I would like to now call for a little break. I will show a video so that it's just 2 minutes long, so you can refresh your water, maybe use the restroom. And actually, because we've been precisely talking about projects, I wanted to show you a small video with some images from the Netherlands as well, but you can also just take a small break. I wanted to thank our plenary speakers, and please don't be late because we will start then with the breakout sessions right away. Thank you very much.
Climate resilience is the capacity to withstand climate change stresses, to respond effectively to hazards, and to recover quickly from negative impacts, adapting and bouncing back from disturbances, and becoming future-proof. The Netherlands is working to become future-proof alongside cities, rural villages, and coastal communities across the world. Over the past few decades, Dutch experts have taken their expertise around the world, joining forces with local experts and communities, adapting lessons learned in the Netherlands to the landscapes and resources of communities. In the process, we have built strong partnerships and discovered innovative ways to tackle climate resilience challenges together. But it doesn't stop there. With sea levels rising, droughts, and heat stress, our alliances across the world are gaining strength and finding new frontiers, from using traditional knowledge to address common challenges, to developing new technologies to spark innovation. The Netherlands Water Partnership is driving the Dutch Resilience Hub with the support of the Partners from Water program, bringing together Dutch organizations doing work that directly or indirectly contributes to building resilience. The Dutch Resilience Hub is the first point of call to connect with an ecosystem of experts in the Netherlands working to build resilience with partners all over the world. It is your linking point with Dutch universities, applied research centers, cities, government institutions, NGOs, and consultancies of all sizes that are eager to connect with counterparts abroad and share their experiences. Are you working on resilience in cities, coastal communities, or rural areas? Are you a Dutch organization, or are you interested to find a Dutch partner to work on solutions to withstand climate change? Join the Dutch Resilience Hub and contact the Netherlands Water Partnership.
Well, thank you very much for sticking around on that little break. And I hope you had all the chance to grab a water or to go to the restroom. For this next section, we will begin with breakout discussions. Now, one of the things that I miss a lot from attending conferences and continuing just our education and be exposed to knowledge about adaptation, mitigation, implementation of projects, what I really miss is exchanging with other practitioners, hearing from researchers, hearing from community representatives on implementation. So today we're going to attempt to do the same thing. What we do need from everyone is to make sure that if you have already downloaded the latest version of Zoom to make things a little bit go smoother. Otherwise, we really do need for everyone to put the session that they want to join either as their tagline or on the chat. But I will be just reviewing what will be the options for these nature-based solutions. A lot of the projects that you have seen on that video actually have been implemented by folks that are going to be in these breakout sessions or in the one-on-one resilience chat. So we do encourage you to make the most of it and to ask questions. The first group will be the group focusing on nature-based solutions. Today we have with us the Nature Conservancy and EcoShape. Two really drivers in the US and the Netherlands on this very important topic. So please check out group number 1 for nature-based solutions. Group number 2 will be public-private partnerships for resilience projects. So a lot of organizations and a lot of community groups and a lot of counties are trying to figure out, how can we, pay the bill? How can we make these things happen? So the public-private partnerships group will be talking about some examples and some strategies and some things that are happening already in MEMA. So we do encourage you to review that. And we will also have Rebel Group that actually has been able to really focus on PPPs, especially for resilience. So I will encourage you to check that group out if that is of your interest. I would also like to welcome Group 3, which is the one that is going to be focusing on citizen engagement for resilience projects. In that group, we will have Yelisa Tate and Kyle Overly from MEMA, and we will also have Ranko Dolman from Royal Haskoning DHV, who has actually been an implementer of a lot of projects that you see on the magazines and on like the best lists. So we do encourage you to see what they have to say about citizen engagement. From implementation projects. For group number 4, we have the Resilience Adaptation Manual for Small Communities. So a lot of those are rural communities, small municipalities or rural counties that are here, you know, trying to see how they can affect change, keep up, adapt, and mitigate. We do have Edgar Westerhoff from Arcadis that has also participated in a lot of these transformational projects, also revealed by design. So really a great speaker and implementer, most of all. Also Ann Baker that is here from American Flood Coalition. So for all those floodplain managers that are really interested about this topic. And then we will have on group 5, the engineering with nature. This is a cooperation that Rijkswaterstaat, that's our executive agency for the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water, the agency here in the Netherlands doing a lot of these big infrastructure projects with their counterpart, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And we will have Guillermo Mendoza from the Corps and Hans Petersen from Rijkswaterstaat. For sure, it will be a good discussion to hear a little bit more about their cooperation. And then group 6 will be focusing on port resilience. So we have today the Port of Rotterdam and the Maryland Port Administration talking together about how are they working on climate resilience, how are they preparing, how they are identifying risks and managing them. So for this next session, we did mention that you have to have your Zoom enabled. Also, if you can tell us through the chat which session you want to join, but without further delay, I am going to go ahead and open up the breakout rooms so that we can go ahead and get you all on your way. And you will get, for those that have the latest version, you will get an option. It will actually take a quick second.
You're muted, Janet.
Okay, now can you hear me? Excellent, excellent. So I will just take a 30-second break to go ahead and recreate the rooms. So while I do that, actually, I will share the screen again so that you can, or my group will be loading the names of the groups on the chat.
Jeanette, you're on mute.
Hello, everyone. If we could take 1 minute to just recreate the rooms, I will just ask that for people to please not attempt to join any groups at this time, and we will just take a 30-second break. Well, let's make it just a minute, and to recreate the room. So if you could please just hold off for a second, and we will come back to life. Thank you.
It would be easier if people could put their desired group numbers in front of their name in the participant list. And I know it's difficult to figure out how to do that, but if you hover over your name, if you click on the participant icon at the bottom of the screen, then hover over your name in the list, you'll get a more menu and you'll get a rename option, and try that in order to put your group number in front of your name. Thank you.
Janet, you're on mute.
Excellent. I have an extra fancy microphone today, so I have to take a second to notice that. But you should all be seeing on the breakout rooms option that you are receiving an invitation to join a certain room. If you do not see that, it is likely that you're on a Zoom browser or that you do not have the latest version of Zoom. So my team will help you access the right room. If you could please just either indicate it on the chat. We will be manually joining, having you go there. So we do see a lot of unassigned folks. So we have a 5-minute buffer so that folks that are not there yet on their groups can slowly but surely get to their groups. So we have also asked moderators not to start until we can get you guys all in. So hopefully that helps. For those that put their group on their name, that's been very helpful. There's quite a lot of you, so we have 4 people adding you all manually. So hang on. Also, for those that I understand sometimes your organization doesn't allow for having your own account or whatnot. So we'll try to get everyone into their breakout sessions. we do ask you during this time if you can please mute just to make sure that
Hello?
Hi everyone. If you are still here in this plenary waiting room, I can reassign you to the correct breakout room. If you can put in the chat or in your screen name where you'd like to go, and then I can assign you to a correct breakout room where right now discussions are going on. I would like to see in the chat where you would like to go, and I can redirect you as soon as possible, so you can still participate in those discussions.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm in the waiting room. I would like to be transferred to group number 6, if that is occurring right now. And I'm only using the phone.
Yeah.
I'm not logged in through the computer. Thank you.
That's completely fine. I will reassign you right now. Is there anyone else that I can help?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to be reassigned to the public-private partnership group.
Yes, no problem. I'll get you there.
Thank you.
Hi, yes. Can you assign me to the public-private partnership group as well, please?
No problem. You'll get there soon. Hi everyone that is still in this plenary session. If one of you would like to go to a breakout room, to still participate in the discussions, then please let me know where you would like to go, and I will reassign you. You can either do that using microphone or you can just put it in the chat. Hi everyone that is still in this plenary session. If you would like to go to one of the breakout rooms to join the discussions, please let me know where I can assign you. You can either do that through microphone or put it in the chat. Once I've reassigned you, you just need to accept and you will be redirected to the correct room. Please let me know where you would like to go then.
Hello, can I be in the public-private partnership group?
Yes, no problem. I'll put you there right away.
Thank you.
Hi, can you send me to group 1, please?
Yes, no problem. I will put you there right away. All you need to do is accept and afterwards.
All right, thank you.
Hi everyone, for those of you that are still here, if you would like to join one of the breakout rooms to join in the discussions that are happening there, just let me know where you'd like to go and I can redirect you. You do need to accept once I redirected you, and of course you're welcome to either join in the discussion or just be a silent participant, however you prefer, but please just let me know where you would like to go.
please feel free to browse around and see which experts are waiting for a match. The system is B2Match, and my team is actually going to be putting this link on the chat so that you can go over there. Thanks to actually the sponsors and the organizers of this meeting, we are making this available to you free. And I think make the most out of it. As you can see, we have people that have really been able to implement transformational projects in nature-based solutions, on PPPs, on citizen engagement. So I do ask you to make the most out of this time. If you don't know a little bit what you would do, I would say just start with introduction of yourself and your organization. You can share what is your latest projects and what are some of the latest challenges that you have overcome. Also try to see if your match has, do you work in common regions, or do you work on the same type of projects? And perhaps identify if your work is complementary or if there's any just good relationship leads for the future, and set up a follow-up call. Make sure that, sometimes you're really deep in the discussion and you forget to get an email. So we always remind you to do that. The website that we have shared basically will open up into this page. What you want to do right away, especially because the kickoffs will start soon, is to go into agenda and click on registering for one-on-one introduction with resilience experts. Once you do that, you will be able to see different participants, something like this. I blurred it for, to keep a little bit of privacy, but you can see also, you can select if you're interested to learn more about how the Netherlands is dealing with hazard mitigation, then you can filter it by that. If you want to see how Maryland government administration sees resilience, you can also filter by that. So I do encourage you to look and play around and see what type of matches you can find for your interest. This will be on for the next 2 hours, so we do encourage you to make the most of it. And for that, we do have to say goodbye so that you can all go into your one-on-one chats. I hope this was an interesting program. We have really put together a lot of time with the organizers to make sure that this was engaging, that every group that is here, their needs were addressed. So from all of the organizers, we really thank you for your time and for participating, and we hope that you have a very good matchmaking experience. I also wanted to thank the people in my team that ran to help, although they're not, this is not their main team. So really appreciative of the help of my colleagues and all involved. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful time with your matches. And to avoid making you late, we will wrap up. Thank you very much. As we may have already said on the events page, we will be downloading their presentations and also their recording. Thank you to all. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and always reach out to the Netherlands Water Partnership. It's the first point of call. If you need anything to do with water, and resilience, please just reach out. We are here to help you.